The male peacock's bright blue feathers are always just for show, so without the effort you might as well forget it, cause you're telling her it's time to go. Oh, hold around her hips, she'll throw you in the skip, you're oh so disposable. It must be understood that you've got to look good, so stand up straight and tall. Don't turn me away, cause I'm not yet in bloom. I get the sweats when you let me into your room. Let me settle in and set down my roots, and in due time I'll start bearing some fruits. Got to be the best, remember all the rest, they're all your enemies. The fight for the right to hold her at night, that's causing jealousy. Lust like animals, fight like animals, die like animals too. In the romance rat race they all want the same as you. Don't turn me away, cause I'm not yet in bloom. I get the sweats when you let me into your room. Let me settle in and sit down my roots, and in due time I'll start bearing some fruit. Got to impress in the way you dress and the things you say to her, cause everything you do is up for review, and you know you'll be compared to everyone who came before you and everyone who's yet to come. That cold dead-eyed a smoking barrel of a gun. Don't turn me away, cause I'm not yet in bloom. I get the sweats when you let me into your room. Let me settle in and sit down my roots, and in due time I'll start bearing some fruit. Na 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 na. A single rose lying on the floor, but who is it for? Why did they leave it there without a care? And offering a love from one to another, we can only assume that once they loved each other. We can see from the flowers' neglect that hatred had gone unchecked, and in time hate overtook the joy. Angry girl, lonely boy will have to make their way home, so unsafe and so alone. As he walked these lonely streets, hands in pockets and shuffling feet, a new emotion appeared. Sadness was replaced with fear. Whatever started on that night has long been dead or taken flight. A heart of ice and a touch of frost, you're free to leave, but at what cost? Love's labour lost. She couldn't bear it anymore. The memory of him stood by the door, the way his face contorted very clearly reported to her conscience that he was sad, but this just made her mad. How could she have made him feel this way? Hurt him so much that it drove him away. To stop the fear she couldn't bear to see, she put him out of his misery. So much sadness in his heart and his head, she proposed he'd be better off dead. So she stalked him online, had to leave her straight away to get there on time, before Abertry to a Holiday Inn where a streak of merciless slayings would begin. Whatever started on that night has long been dead or taken flight. A heart of ice and a touch of frost, you're free to leave, but at what cost? Love's labour lost. She had to play it cool, nothing suspicious at all. A master of deception, quietly creeping past reception and up 2 flights of stairs. Knock, 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 and hear who's there. So she kicked him to the floor, turned around and locked the door. The woman he once thought could be his wife hovered over him, holding a knife. She covered up his mouth to silence his cries for help. A knife right through his chest would put the man to rest, but she was swarmed with violent thoughts. It was her face that turned to contort into a scowl as she took out a garden trowel, scooped out both his eyes and dug into his thighs, bashed his skull until it cracked. Now she was on the attack, bit her full of fingers on both his hands. Heart sprinted as the blood ran, pulled the joints out of their sockets and then emptied both his pockets. She was paranoid and unstable, so she cut off all of the labels on his clothes, and she thought, case closed. She was careful not to fall as she climbed out the window and scaled the wall. She ran across the car park No stars, she was in the dark, away, alone and into the night. Despite the situation, she could see the light, and in that twisted mind somehow it was clear what needed to be done now. Whatever started on that night has long been dead or taken flight. A heart of ice and a touch of frost, you're free to leave, but at what cost? Love's labour lost. To even look like him, she deemed that to be a sin. So anyone who dare have brown eyes or have brown hair would face a gruesome death, for she had no sanity left. No matter where she tried to go, in the stars at night she saw his face glow, saw his features in every man. If only they knew, then they could have ran. But instead, every stranger was unaware of the danger that she posed to those who wore his clothes, for they were borrowed robes. They say that still she roams, so be careful when you're out alone, and make sure you care for others' feelings. If you hurt them, help with their healing. The guilt will destroy your mind and turn to rage in time. Yeah, whatever started on that night has long been dead or taken flight. A heart of ice and a touch of frost, you're free to leave, but at what cost? Love's labour lost. Whatever started on that night has long been dead or taken flight. A heart of ice and a touch of frost, you're free to leave, but at what cost? Love's labour lost. Ow! It's got a verse, one verse, yeah boy, this is it. One verse, one singer, and you listen to him. Fried rice with your chicken dinner, me is murder, and you know it. 6 bolts on a sheet of metal, that's a form of technology. Microwave water in the kettle, toaster in the bath for you and me. Hair falling like rose petals, blue light, electricity. Skin stinging, fall in the nails. I jam the lock and I ain't the key. Buh, 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 people live their lives consumed, scrolling through their phones in their rooms. But that ain't the life for me. I'd rather be out amongst the trees. I go to sleep every night underneath the sparkling starlight. And every day when I awake, there's a brand new journey to take. And I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been, and I can't quite remember half the faces that I've seen. But there's no adventures today, 'cause it's here that I'm forced to stay. Now I'm stuck here in this flat block with you. I got the 12th floor blues. When I look into your eyes, it seems to me you're paralyzed. Your self-inflicted engagement is the single cause of my enragement. tradesman. Yeah, you spend your life locked behind that door. Makes me wonder what you're waiting for. You're just about paying the rent with the money that the government sends. It's people like you with nothing to do who clog up the population. They're there to meet on every street in every single nation. We could go up to the mountains or make a wish in the Trevi fountain. But I'm stuck here on the sofa with you. I got the 12th floor blues. You tell me every day the cycle repeats. You can barely stand on your feet. I don't know how you can complain when you've only got yourself to blame. Everybody makes mistakes, but your one takes the cake. 'Cause when you got this thought in your mind, you left your childhood dreams behind. It won't be very long now till you're too far gone to save. 'Cause without aspiration, your destination is the grave. Now you're just counting down the days till your body starts rotting away. Yeah, it's people who die like you. Give me the 12th floor blues. We're all born into the world of light, put into our beds before the fall of night. They lied to us till we were convinced that ignorance is innocence. They pulled the wool right over our eyes. No romance in kissing, nothing sexual in thighs. They said we are the ones who put the meaning in your life. You will love the God we tell you to and learn to love your wife. It's where we're born and where they want us to die, where you fall into your mother's arms every time you cry, where we never learn because we're not allowed to make mistakes. I wish I'd known that the light there was fake, passionate and aggressive. He paints his nails, does that make him any less of a man? Have you read Damien? But on the other side there is an opposite world, full of criminals and prostitutes and broken boys and girls. But no one stays away because we're tempted by the dark. Can't stay where we are, constantly moving like sharks. 'Cause no matter how perfect it is in the here and now, we'll always find a way to go somewhere else somehow. Even if the consequences of life are worse, we always have to put our curiosity first. Because the fear of not knowing is stronger than the fear of what's there. We never do what we're told, we're far more rebellious than scared. And do you remember the first time you tried to talk back? How quickly they reacted, how quickly they attacked. The parents go wild and hit their child as the anger they reprimanded rises up. And I reckon that just for a second they let their disguises drop. Passionate and aggressive, he paints his nails, does that make him any less of a man? Have you read Damien? And remember when your perception of your parents changed, when instead of all knowing, you saw them as deranged for choosing to live in such a dull and dreary way. They had proved you right and you would prove them wrong one day. So you packed up and moved out into the unknown, pretended you were someone else when mum was on the phone. But the school, it was expensive and you couldn't get the loans. So it wasn't too long before you had to go home, and on holidays you return to the places that you'd learn to hate rather than appreciate. But you pretend that they're your mates. One summer visit you went down to the beach, but that childhood playfulness you couldn't be reached. You lay back on the towel and close your eyes, try to be poetic as you prophesize. The sand on the shore doesn't seem half as pale when you've been through icebergs, snow and hail. they didn't understand, and you knew that they wouldn't. With the life they'd live, you knew that they couldn't. When you were with them, you felt so out of place. This wasn't your idea of the human race. These people were robots, living in a bubble. How do they resist the temptation to get into trouble? They were moving through life in one straight time, and in your eyes, that's a waste of a lifetime. Passionate and aggressive, he paints his nails, does that make him any less of a man? Have you read Damien? Get rid of all they've told you and all of your old fears, and you will find your mind is filled with fresh ideas. Channel your imagination so you can tune by creation, better than being consumed by consumption. The sandwich looks better on someone else's lunch, and we always want what we can't have, but we don't fight to get it because we're so sad. Caught up in the concept that the odds are against us, as if it's all decided by how a higher power paints us with his palette of melancholic blues and greys. You think to yourself, what a horrible day, and everyone else thinks the same. It's the hive mind's migraine. But as the concepts of conformity start to dissipate, your new life mission is to create. You'll be a great artist, spend solitary days in your little study, painting away flowers and castles and rivers and lakes, memories and futures and love and hate. Express all that you have felt and everything you've seen, just to prove you're more than a machine. In the pain it's all you gained and every little lost. Embrace the pain, prove it was worth the cost. You hope and pray your works will inspire. The cold world of light will embrace the fire in their souls and in their hearts. That will be the start of a new age of joy and rage, where we take the good with the bad. No more people like your dad. Change the status quo and change the situation. No world of light, no world of dark, no segregation. We live in both a world of dark and a world of light. Finally, everything will be alright. Passionate and aggressive, he paints his nails, does that make him any less of a man? Have you read Damien? Man Damien, 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 man Damien. Whenever I start to pick up speed, if I'm fooling, my ears ring but I don't pick up, and I said cooling. In my chest, destiny rests, it's my untapped potential. But going with the flow is a pain, you know, and the tears become torrential. I'm at a fork in the road, but is it really my decision? Doesn't lighten the load, and I find my heart rate's risen. I'm finding the illusion of choice just leads to violence and riot. Dying for my guiding voice to be silenced. Be quiet! Jump off of a moving train, cause the stops ain't gonna make it stop. You need to be the change you want to see. It's the bottom that holds up the top. You don't marinate in what you eat, you just wallow. If you wanna be the first, forget how to follow. Find your future, find your future, find your future, find your future. Come off of the motorways, start driving through the woods. Working hard today is what will make tomorrow good. You're on the road, less travelled, on one that's never been seen before. And as the map unfolds, it's more instructions to ignore. Go to the art gallery and don't read the signs. Sometimes the deepest appreciation is blind. But not everything is interpreted, sometimes you've got to find the facts. The quest to question everything before you let your mind relax. You take one piece of advice today, take matters into your own hands. Otherwise life's just a roll of the dice, randomly landing, understand? Find your future, 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 find your future. Find your future, 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 find your future.
1, 2, 3, 4.
A boring existence is a waste of time. I need some resistance and a goal in mind. I'm a man in motion, yes, I'm on the run. Need some strong emotion, need to have some fun. I was a brand new lover coming my way. Suddenly the others all fade away. All of the heartbreak, all the things I've lost, all the mistakes and all they've cost. All my concerns are obsolete. The pages turn, now I feel complete. The wounds have healed and she filled the void. My emotions are real, no longer an android, now at ease. Hydraulic sneeze.
Hydraulic sneeze.
Again and again and again and again and again and again and again. Count to 10. Older night, years ago, it's black and white and time seems slow. You remember the days when you were young, when you had things to say and the calls would come occasionally. You'll call back, your memory is on the attack, the parade of joy, much through your heart, much younger boy. Back to the start, present starker and the future's bleak. Past has gotten rotten and it reeks. The water in your head is the word you speak. Like one like you away, flip a street, but no one hears. And in your eyes there are too many tears, but no one sees. You're at ease. Hydraulic sneeze. But as soon as I came, she had left. Am I to blame, or was it theft? Was she stolen away by the powers that be? Making sure every day that I'm never happy. All joy is fleeting, jumping like fleas, thus completing a hydraulic sneeze. I swore I'd never love again, a pledge I've made before, but this promise disappeared again when I saw her by the door. The girl was very different, but the feeling's still the same. No matter what I do, this curse will remain. I know what's going on now, I still accept my fate. I tried to take a different path, but I know it's far too late. I look at the hours passing by on my wrist, and I realise without sadness that joy could not exist. They create each other like yin and yang, like toxic lovers with the poison fangs, with which you bite me, choke me, show me that you own me, ba 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 ba. Just like a drug, you take me, smoke me, I'll be your one and only. Hold me, kiss me, say that you'll never leave me, ba 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 ba. Miss me, reminisce me, I wish that you would need me. But you don't, no one does. Loneliness to me is hand in glove. I can fall again whenever I please. Hydraulic sneeze, hydraulic sneeze, hydraulic sneeze, hydraulic sneeze.